Welcome to Teaching and Practicing Fast Pitch Hitting Video 11, the Stance and Hip Turn Drill. I'm Coach Dan Hennessy. I recommend you watch Teaching Fast Pitch Hitting Video 10, Teaching, Practicing, and Coaching Overview, before you embark on teaching your players. The purpose of this video is to help you, the Fast Pitch Youth Team Coach, teach your players how to execute the stance and the hip turn drill and how to practice them. I described the fundamental components of the stance and hip turn drill in video 1, and this video is meant for you to use in tandem with it. Teaching the team. Start your initial training session by lining up all team members with their helmets and bats, preferably in 2 or 3 rows so they aren't spread out too far, and staggered so they can see you well. Have each batter stand next to a throw-down home plate or base, or anything with a flat side, to simulate standing up to home plate. They should execute the motions as you call out instructions and demonstrate each motion. Get your assistant coaches to help watch the players and correct their form. Demonstrate and describe the stance in detail, then have your players practice it by taking them through it 4 or 5 times. You can use the practice materials I've provided on my website, fastpitchcoaching.com, or play video 1 on your phone or mobile device, letting it guide you as you lead your players through the steps. It works best if you practice doing this at home. That is, using a full-length mirror to watch yourself. Play and pause video 1 and speak to yourself as you will your players. Then execute each step as you watch yourself in the mirror. This might seem tedious, but it will get easier later and will help you teach your players efficiently and effectively. After teaching your players the stance, move on to the hip turn drill, making sure they use a good stance while trying out the 4 steps: load, step, lift, and fire. Load, step, lift, fire. There is no need for you to teach it perfectly, nor for them to execute it perfectly at this point. Just move at a rate that will allow you to complete it in the time available, and plan to go through it again at your next practice or 2. Sometime after the first practice, review video 1 again and make notes of the details you didn't cover so you can cover them next time. At each practice, ask them to execute it a little more precisely, providing lots of positive encouragement and a few laughs. As you repeat the fundamentals with them at several practices, you'll be able to use fewer words and move faster. If you've already watched video 2, the swing, you'll know that the fun part, hitting the ball, is coming soon. Players should practice carefully to develop consistency. Do this by executing these movements with precision and a feeling of being mechanical, like a robot. They should not try to smooth out their movements until they are well practiced and automatic. Otherwise, they will be maintaining some of their old movements, making the change to the new ones less successful. When in a proper stance, the player will feel tall despite leaning in over the plate. Ask your players to feel it and then maintain that feeling throughout the hip turn drill. This stance is the classic athletic position, which is used in most sports where players are on their feet. I recommend you stay alert for any player who slouches or otherwise compromises the details of the proper stance. The typical thing to do is ask her to bow forward a bit and then pull herself up by imaginary hooks on top of her shoulders, while maintaining the tightness in her lower back. My way of determining the amount to bend the knees seems awfully detailed, but it takes very little time and results in a proper athletic position with the weight on the balls of the feet. This proper balance is critical to an effective swing. The hip turn drill. The whole body takes part in the hip turn drill. Every body part except the head and hands operate the same way they will in a swing. That's why the hip turn drill is the most important drill your players will use as they learn this new swing. Have them do careful setups and hip turn drills at every practice, preferably at 2 or more different times. Have half the team do the drill together with several coaches and parents helping watch for proper execution. Then have the other half do it. Repeat with each half taking turns for a total of 4 to 5 minutes. The setup. Every hip turn drill starts with a setup. The same setup will be used in games, so it is important for the setup to be done carefully. However, after a few practices, be sure your players are setting up fairly quickly and without a lot of thinking. Quickness means they've built habits to handle the setup. If they haven't done that, encourage it in this manner. Tell them to always set up quickly. Then if they do it incorrectly, tell them what they should do better and have them do another whole setup, making that improvement as they do so at the same speed as before. This technique is a good problem-solving technique for getting precision into sloppy drills. The load. The purpose of the load is to get the whole body moving so the muscles are loose and responsive as the various other parts of the swing begin. It does not have to be a large or quick movement. There are several things the coach should teach the players. They are: keep the body weight a little to the inside of the back foot, not over or beyond that foot. As the player moves back, her weight should feel like it is being partially pressed into the inside edge of the back foot. Keep the load small. Be sure the hips are moving back at least as much as the shoulders. It is natural to move the shoulders back more, so the coach must be specific in teaching that. In fact, in order for the front shoulder to come down slightly during the load, it works best if the hips go back about an inch farther than the shoulders. Tell your players to focus on their hips more than their shoulders, and it should be easy to do the load well. A big load will allow a stronger movement forward onto the front leg at toe touch, but this does not provide more power in the swing. Instead, it encourages the toe touch to trigger the rest of the swing in order to maintain the forward momentum, leading to timing problems with the step. The step. The step is important because it helps the hips fire forcefully as they turn around and against the firm front leg. It also feels natural and empowering as it contributes movement to the whole body. It should be used by every player of every age. The length of the step should be approximately the width of the foot. Stepping too far can partially lock up the hips, slowing their turn at fire. The key to a successful step is to avoid using it for two things it is not meant for. The first is that we are not trying to have the body moving toward the pitcher at the point of contact with the ball. Instead, we are trying to turn the hips and shoulders very quickly at contact. Hence the firm front leg that prevents forward movement after the hip turn is completed. The second key point is that the step should not trigger the swing. The only reason is that it is too difficult for players to step late enough to hold up their swing on a changeup or other slower than usual pitch. A trigger is an initial movement that causes other movements to automatically begin. Almost every player a coach will encounter uses the step, either toe touch or heel drop, to trigger the rest of the swing movements. With our swing, it is fire, that is, the firing of the connected hips, elbows, and shoulders that serve as trigger, with the mental focus of the player on her hips, since they are the most important and have already gently started due to the lift of the back heel. The lift and the fire. The lift of the back heel without letting the shoulders start turning causes the hips to start turning very slightly ahead of the shoulders, about an inch ahead. Then the hips and shoulders are fired to the front very quickly. The effect is that the hips seem to pull the shoulders around until the hips are almost facing the pitcher, at which point they slow to a stop. As the hips start to slow down, the shoulders speed up, driven by the core muscles, and the shoulders come shooting around past the hips. Since the shoulders are connected to the arms, hands, and bat, this action whips the bat through the ball very hard. When your players execute the hip turn drill properly and with intensity, this whipping action will be felt in their arms. That's it for my teaching and practicing video 11, the stance and hip turn drill. Please return to my YouTube channel called Fastpitch Coaching to select the video called Fast Pitch Hitting Video 2, the swing. Also, please go to my website, fastpitchcoaching.com, and join for free access to my weekly video blogs, online practice guides which are also printable, and links to hand-picked resources.